The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary-related entertainment.
Aloha and welcome to Maui Nonprofit Notes, where each week you'll find us talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support those with needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, please stop by Pacific Source's Cabinet and Appliance Showroom located in the Waikapu Base Yard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. For those of you who may be listening for the first time to this weekly show, during the hour we share some of the experiences of our nonprofit agencies and just how they're changing lives, changing communities, and creating miracles of hope for those with needs. Today we're going to start off with Dean Wong, who's the Executive Director of Emua Family Services.
Aloha, Susie. How are you today?
I'm good, Dean. How are you?
Excellent. Most excellent. Thank you.
Hey, before we get started on
Sure.
your specific program, I'd like to make a couple comments about last night's Small Business Awards.
Absolutely.
Dinner.
What an exciting night that was.
Wasn't that? I mean, it's like the Academy Awards of local businesses.
Local businesses, yeah.
And nonprofits.
Exactly. It was great.
And I love the nonprofit part especially.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course I do too. I have a whole life dedicated to that, but I also love that the mayor and the county really do recognize small businesses and what they contribute to the community and how important that is for our community. It's very important. And it's important to nonprofits.
Right. And it was just kind of real quickly, the 0 to 10 employees small business that won was Skullbase. Sean Walsh, Dennis Walsh, and Ahanu Tyson Drew, I think it is.
Yeah.
And in the 11 to 35 employee category, it was Maui Printing Company. Robert
Absolutely.
Campbell and David Tucker, and a lot of our nonprofits know them very well
Yeah.
for the work that they do together. And then in the 36 to 100 employees, Three's Catering, Three's Bar and Grill. And
Yeah, amazing team.
They announced they've got a new one coming up here in the fall.
I know.
What was that? Salad and Fork? Or Fork and Salad or something like that? Using all the fresh grown
farm
produce.
to table salads.
Farm to table,
and,
yeah. That's Travis Morin, Cody Christopher, and Jaron Blossom.
Yeah.
Blossom?
Good guys, all three of them.
Blossom. And the Young Business Person of the Year was Jonathan Miller from E-Design Group.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of nonprofit have worked with him and know him very well. Lifetime Achievement Award, which is always a biggie, because this is exactly what it says: lifetime of giving and caring,
Yeah.
and a successful business to be able to do that.
I was really hoping they didn't call my name for that one. No, it just makes it
Hello?
feel like you're at the end of your. I was like, wait, I'm not at the end. I'm not ready for a lifetime achievement. No.
I see. Oh, you're over the hill, huh? Yeah. No. This, we don't really say, I don't think, in the criteria that you have to be in business so long or anything like that.
Right.
But it's when. By the way, I serve as a judge, so I'm kind of partial to this whole thing. When you look at the nominations, I mean, things jump out at you.
Of course.
Those things that the community needs and wouldn't have without some of these people doing
Right.
it and so forth. The winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award was Michael and Cheryl Rock of Mele Ukulele,
Yeah.
right down on the road here.
A Maui staple.
Yeah, and their story is fascinating,
It
how
is.
they got started and how they've grown. And then, of course, for us, the most outstanding category was the Outstanding Nonprofit Award. And this takes into consideration the business aspect of the nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
And we always say, it's the business to run because it has so many facets
It does.
that you don't have control of.
Sure.
That if it were a personal business or a private business, you could.
Right.
I mean, we can't decide the price that we want to pay for supplies. We can't decide the price we're going to charge.
For services.
For
exactly.
services, in many cases, they have to be given.
Yeah.
And our funds come from various sources, which, we've got to be on the lookout all the time. somebody said, if you need money, just have a sale. A sale on what? It's not like a retail store where I can take something off the shelf and say, okay, here's a sale.
That's right. And you can't rely on the Christmas season to bring in all your revenue for the rest of the year. And,
Exactly.
all those sorts of things.
Exactly. And it was really exciting because as the Maui Nonprofit Directors Association, we had several people, several organizations in the running last night. Kalimo Maui, who was on here on the show just recently. Friends of the Children's Justice Center, who are coming up in a few weeks, and Imua Family Services. Dean is here today and was there last night ready to accept the award, but was beat out by Hui Noiau Visual Arts Center, Carolyn Kill, our executive
Nice.
director, and they were on just the other week.
And I loved her opening line was, tonight I'm not the bridesmaid anymore, I've been a bridesmaid many times, she said.
It was. I'm off of the bridesmaid. I don't have anything to say.
Right.
And it was very, you could tell she was stunned.
Yeah.
And that demeanor is part of what makes her so great at what she does.
Right.
9 years of building that organization since they bought that facility up there.
It's blood, sweat, and tears. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so shout out to Caroline and her crew up at Hui Noiau for winning the award. And, while awards are nice, and as a judge I'm saying this, which probably is not quite in line with what I should be saying, but every nominee is a winner.
Of course.
Because
absolutely.
somebody has taken what you've done and said, hey, it's extraordinary.
That's right.
And so they've nominated you.
Right.
And while there can only be one winner, I always say to be nominated is to be a winner. So last night we had, what do we have? 19, 26, 30, 35 winners
Absolutely.
on that stage
Right.
in these various categories. And a shout out to every one of them because they are all winners in the eyes of those of us who live here on Maui.
That's right.
We all need their services, and I'm sure the list is going to come out in the paper shortly about who all was nominated and who the winners were. But it was quite an evening.
It was great, and it's great, like I said, that the mayor, the county, they recognize what it takes to run a small business, how it supports the community, and how much we rely on it.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know. There's something about that evening that, and what I've noticed in the last few years is the trend is going to younger and younger people. There are more young folks starting businesses and getting a few years under their belt. Whereas I think when we first started doing this, it seemed like if you weren't in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, how could you be nominated for something like this?
Well, I think there's something that speaks to that trend, and that is the influence of social media and technology on running a business. You can start a business on YouTube, you can start a business on Facebook, you can promote your businesses through social media and that type of marketing now. And it just, by nature of what that is and how that was created, many more young people are more savvy in that way, and it allows people who have ideas and concepts who wouldn't typically be heard by big businesses in the past can just skip that whole process altogether. They can start their own businesses with their own product, and they can kickstart it, with crowdfunding,
Right.
and then they can get it going on social media platforms, and they can create a business for themselves. And it allows them to put together the use and models of old school business techniques and sort of bring them into a new audience. And I think that when people aren't paying attention to how the market is today and how different it is today than it used to be, then they're going to get left behind.
Right. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Good point.
And that's true for nonprofits too,
right,
I might say.
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the things they said last night was we're talking about the change. Things are changing
Yeah.
in the marketplace and in the list of businesses on the island, or who owns businesses.
Sure.
The people are transitioning out. They've had their 25 years in their business. Now it's time for the next generation. If the kids want to take over, if the kids don't want to take over, they put it out on the market for sale. And if there's not a buyer, perhaps there's a way to sell out inventory, etc.,
Sure.
and retire anyway.
Right.
It's tough, and I think if somebody really sits back and takes a look and says, this has been a family business for 3 generations. I mean, that's an achievement and a half today. One of the things they talked about too last night was A&B and the sugar
HCNS.
HCNS division, and 145 years.
Yeah, amazing.
It's done at the end of this year. But I think the most exciting thing that was said was by the HCNS and the A&B folks that they're not leaving.
No, that
They're not disappearing.
There's a commitment to the community. Their level of giving commitment was still there, and their commitment to transitioning the current fields and crops into what might be new and sustainable and different and unique for the future of Maui County. And they said, of course, it will come with some bumps and some hiccups, and that it may not be smooth, and there might be some period of time where that feels like it drops out for a while. But there's a commitment on their part to keep moving forward.
Right.
Imua.
And there you go. And it's not. Then they mentioned you look out over the field, which today is all sugarcane. That's going to be gone.
Yeah.
But instead of a field of green, all of a sudden we're going to have a patchwork quilt of various items growing out there.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I felt that was really good, and they also made a commitment that they were going to continue to support the nonprofits as they have in the
did.
past.
Exactly.
And what form, their activity is going to be over here, we're not sure.
Sure.
But I really felt good about hearing direct from them
Absolutely. Me too.
what they had to say.
Yeah, they have a table at our fundraiser coming up too, so we'll see them there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Speaking of, what a segue.
Ha ha ha.
I think he's telling me it's time to quit talking about last night and start talking about the future.
The future, tomorrow.
And that's why Dean is here to talk about, you've got your big fundraiser coming up.
It's our 69th anniversary celebration and gala fundraiser. 69 years, it's amazing for Imua Family Services.
You don't
It
look a
started
day over 68.
Right? I look good, I'm
Yeah,
telling
you
you.
do.
69. I know next year will be our 70th anniversary, and that's going to be an
that's a
extra
blowout.
special
Woo.
deal, right? But this year, our 69th anniversary is certainly nothing to blink an eye at. And it's an exciting evening. We rely on this particular fundraiser for supporting one of our most major programs that has the most need in it. And it's always a sensational evening. Every year, I purposefully make it bigger, bolder, and better than the year before, because of course it attracts a bigger audience every year, and so that's really a testament, I think, to the night. So we're really excited about it. It's coming up on Saturday, March 26th. So it's the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday at the Hyatt Regency in
Everybody's
Kaanapali.
long weekend.
Yeah, it's a great weekend.
Cool. So now, is that a new venue for it?
No, in fact this will be the third year
at
this particular venue. Yeah, the Hyatt has been such amazing hosts and sponsors for the event. They've made us feel so welcome and such a part. The Hyatt team is amazing what they contribute to the event and how much they participate with us from conception through the end of the event, that they've just been a great partner with us. It's amazing.
Well, that's everything.
It is. It's huge.
Especially with the kind of events you throw.
Yeah. Yes. I ask for the sky, let me tell you.
I'll bet.
I do.
I'll bet. And now you have someone coming in from
Hollywood.
Broadway? Oh, Hollywood.
Hollywood,
Oh, she's
yeah.
Hollywood.
She's on Broadway right now. Megan Hilty, the people know her maybe as the star of NBC's Smash, where she played Ivy, the girl who was vying for the role of Marilyn Monroe in a Broadway show called Bombshell. And she was a huge breakout star from that. She made her debut on Broadway in Wicked, which, of course, is now the longest-running musical on Broadway.
Right.
And after Wicked, she played the Dolly Parton role in the musical 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
Went on to do NBC's Smash series and was a triple threat there. And then did a sitcom, Sean Saves the World, with Sean Hayes from Will and Grace. So she's big in her. She's a great star for sure. She's a triple threat.
That's cool. That's cool. And she's going to be here for that evening.
She'll be here, yeah.
Do some numbers for the
Yeah,
crowd.
she's our headline. We do a huge entertainment portion of our event, and it's intertwined with how we do the fundraising, so that it's very conceptual from beginning to end, and there's it's very interactive with the audience, and then how they get some education and messaging, and then they get an opportunity to give and fundraise, and then they get entertainment as a thank you, and the evening spins like that throughout the whole night. So It's very methodical the whole night from beginning to end.
And there will be some surprises,
There's
I'm sure.
always surprises.
Can we get any
Always
hints?
surprises. Well, let's just say that I think I've taught our audiences to expect the unexpected. Last year, they were in the reception cocktail hour before going into the ballroom for the event, and suddenly Maui High School Marching Band walked through the reception hall, and they were fresh off their Disney and Rose Bowl parade event, so they were in prime marching condition, and no one expected that. And that's a 144-piece marching band, so that's just an element of the kind of surprises that one might expect from me. But then you should never expect what you might be expecting.
On that note, we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors to find out what they are up to. And it sounds like Dean Wong of Mua Family Services is up to his usual stunts.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans, that's probably a better word.
I call it shenanigans for a cause.
There you go.
There's a good Irish event. This, and it's important, we talk, I talk a lot about our fundraiser and how exciting it is and how special it is and how one of a kind it is and unique it is and extraordinary, and all those things are true. But I think it's really important to shed the light on why we do this particular fundraiser. Our early childhood development program at Mua Family Services is a unique program and the only one like it in the state of Hawaii. Children, via federal mandate from the Department of Health, are able to receive much needed developmental services for children birth through age 3 if there happens to be complications, developmental concerns, or physical disabilities that occur for their children in that age period. And we provide those services for the state of Hawaii on Molokai, Maui, and Lanai at Mua Family Services. But after the age of 3, something happens there, and children may be evaluated by the Department of Education, and they might qualify for Department of Education special ed services. But they also may not be considered delayed enough or severe enough or critical enough to qualify for those SPED services. And so what happens is then there becomes this gap that children fall into who are just not caught up and not really where they should be. They continue to need speech development services and occupational services and other kinds of therapy services, or have a lot of behavior issues which don't necessarily qualify them for special education. But if you have a behavior issue, it can cause you to become a child to not really work within the rest of the system and function and learn properly. So we at Mua Family Services are dedicated to continue to provide the needed therapies and services for children in this age 3 through 6 and sometimes above age bracket that just otherwise there would be no services available to these children. And we do this at no cost to families. And there's a huge number of children who are in need of these services and on our doorstep always looking to help for families trying to get the help and support they need with children who are in this time of need. And, the first 6 years of a child's life are the most critical for their development. And so to just stop providing services for a child because they reach the age of 3, when in fact many children, that is the time that some of these things only start to get recognized. So this is what this fundraiser does. It supports the staff and program that provide these services for children who fall into this puka, or this gap where there is a lack of services available. Like I said, we're the only organization in the state of Hawaii that's reaching the children that are in this particular gap for these services. And so this fundraiser, all of the money that is raised from this fundraiser specifically goes to children getting therapy services they need through that program.
So now, excuse me, in the past, you've done the infant and child development, which is up to age 3.
Correct. We always do that.
You've always done that. And so I would think that there's probably times when people don't recognize there's a problem by age 3.
Absolutely, much of the time, especially if the child, you know, a lot of children here in our islands are not at home with mom and dad sometimes, who have to work 2 jobs. If there is both mom and dad, sometimes there's only one parent. And so one parent is out working, and sometimes the child might be home with an auntie, a tutu, or another source of caretaking. And maybe that source isn't reading to the children and playing with the children, engaged with the children. You know, a lot of children are babysat by televisions and things like that for a long period of time. So then suddenly a child reaches the age of 3, and they think, well, now we'll put that child in a preschool. So they go into the preschool, they haven't been socialized properly, they haven't had the kind of exposure or daycare exposure or socialization that they need, and then problems start to arise, and the preschool teachers recognize that the child has a speech delay, has never spoken perhaps, has gross motor functions that aren't right, or fine motor skills that aren't working properly, or just any number of things, you know, isn't able to turn their head to the right, only one way to the left, you know, because they always sat in the same couch watching the same television in the same direction. That sounds like a silly thing, but it's absolutely true. It happens. And so, you know, suddenly the child is 3 and there's all these concerns. Now what do we do? And this is a majority of the phone calls that we get in Imua Family Services every day, you know, and it's because somebody else outside the family unit recognized, did you know that your child has this, or doesn't do this, or isn't able to do this, or can't control these emotions, or can't control this physical situation? And when a child can't communicate well, when they become frustrated with their language skills and communication skills, or their body doesn't do what they want it to do, they can't control themselves, how they act out is in a manner that is, we classify as behavior. Unfortunately, some people classify it as bad behavior, but it's not necessarily bad behavior. It's the child being frustrated and acting out because they're not getting their needs met. Their voice isn't being heard, and they're not able to articulate or communicate in a way that a typically developing child at that age should be able to do. So lots of problems arise for children in that age group. Our goal at Imua Family Services is to catch those children up, and we can. The earlier we catch it, the earlier we can start working with a child and giving them access to speech-language pathology and speech services and occupational therapy. We can start to work with a child. So all we're doing is giving them the tools to eliminate the frustrations that they have. When they eliminate the frustrations and give them the ability to be independent and communicate and socialize, typically the other things start to go away as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
To think that you're sitting there and you think you've got this perfectly well-adjusted child.
Sure. Yeah, you know, people
headed off to school.
Yeah. And then boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe people say, you know, oh, so long as they're healthy, you know, but healthy is it's an interesting term, because healthy, if you got a physical checkup, you could be a healthy child. Healthy doesn't mean that you're socially healthy, emotionally healthy, or, you know, all of the other components of it. It doesn't mean that you're ready to learn and ready to have friends and socialize and, you know, all of those sorts of things. So there's a lot of components that we look at, and a lot of times it's the family that needs the support, and, you know, that's what we do at Imua Family Services. That's why we're here.
Now, you don't really talk about success rates, but the improvement, I guess, is what you're looking at.
Sure. Well, we definitely talk about success rates at Imua within our teams, but we have to recognize that success with children is very incremental, and sometimes it's small things and small steps that happen after months and months and months of therapy. You know, and that's an important thing to note, because when we say, oh, we're raising money for early childhood development programs at Imua Family Services, one must realize that sometimes, in order to have these small successes for a child, we need to provide services to them for 3 years. And I'm talking 3 years, once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week for years for a child. So, you know, the way we like to break it down for children is that we try to give them plans of about 6 months at a time, because that's oftentimes what a family can wrap their minds around. And then we work with them through a 6-month period, and then do a reevaluation, and work with them again for 6 months, and then reevaluate with that and do it. You know what I mean? And then we can kind of reestablish the plan with children as we go.
So then at age 5, is there somewhere else for them to go if there's still some major
Well, by age
issues,
5, here now a child is going to kindergarten. And really, our goal is to make sure that they're caught up and ready for kindergarten. If a child really had some severe issues that were ongoing, then it would become the responsibility of the Department of Education to see that those children get the resources they need, either through special education or other services in the school system. And let's just leave it at that. Hopefully
Okay.
they get those resources.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So this is your fundraiser to raise the money to work with these children.
Yes. And, I want to say that we're thankful that in the past 5 years, this fundraiser has continued to be successful and continues to grow. And a result of the fundraiser growing and continuing to be successful, every year we've been able to add more children into that program and do more services and more work. So it's not about, keeping the program stabilized. It's about also growing and developing the program as well. So it has a direct correlation. The fundraiser itself has a direct correlation to how many children we see for how long and what period of time and how much services we're able to give them.
Wow. That's heavy. Yeah.
It's heavy, and I know, this is what as an executive director, this is what we do every day, is that we have to enlighten and educate people on the work that we do, and hopefully if it reaches to them and it touches something in their heartstrings, then they want to help and support and give in any way that they can. And when people come to Fantasia Ball, a $100 gift is meaningful, a $10,000 gift is meaningful, and anything above and in between is meaningful, because it all adds up and
Right.
it supports that work. So I will be honest with you, I literally work for 1 year on this event. Each year after it's over, I start immediately on the next year, and I plot and plan and organize and structure the event to really give people the most education as possible in the short time that they're there, in the amount of time that I feel like they're ready to hear, and then I let them do the work from there. I let them give what they want to give from their heart and what they're able to give, and then we reward them for their giving and their kindness with what I consider to be the best entertainment on Maui
Right. Gotcha.
at that time.
Gotcha.
So,
Sounds fair enough.
yeah, absolutely.
I think the whole concept, to me, I'm not a mother, and every child I think that I've known within my family and so forth has been, shall we say, normal,
Typical.
if that typical, whatever. But if you're in a situation where you do have a child that is behind in their progress, I would think it's a very hard thing for a parent to accept
You
and to ask for help.
you worry constantly. I mean, you worry constantly when you have a typical child who's doing very well. You worry anyway, right?
Right.
Anything can happen at any time. And
Right.
that's something that everyone knows. Any child can become disabled at any time. Fall off the monkey bars, get hit by a wave swell that, tips them over the wrong way. Anything can happen, right? I know a child who got electrocuted because he went into like a convenience store from the beach with wet feet,
Ooh.
opened a fridge door and got an electrocution, and it caused some severe damage. This can happen. Parents worry about this stuff all the time. And so if you have a child who from the onset has something that's causing them to have a delay, not only is the parent worried about the child and the condition and the health and how they're going to educate and have the child cope and socialize and all these things, you think of their entire future ahead of them. Will they be able to have a solid education? Will they be able to ever work in the future and have a job that will be able to support themselves? Will it mean the parent has to support that child for the rest of that child's life? What does
Right.
that mean to the family? Will the child be able to socialize to the point where they could meet someone, have a partner, fall in love, have children of their own? These are the things you think about from the time that child is an infant.
Right.
It's just the natural thing we do as parents.
Right.
And so when someone throws a wrench into that and the dream is disrupted, it's paralyzing sometimes for families. They don't know what to do.
What's the number to call?
244-7467, or look us up, emuafamilyservices.org. We're exactly there to answer all those questions and provide that help. and it's even if you just have the questions, because there's nothing better than a parent calling us saying, I have these concerns, I'm worried about my child, they're not doing this, I don't know if they're on target, pediatrician says everything's fine, but something doesn't seem right. We meet with the child, we meet with the family, and we're able to say, there's nothing better than saying, hey, everything's perfect. Thanks for calling.
Right. But
yeah,
if it's not,
then it's good to start immediately.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dean, thank you so much for being on with us today. It's always enlightening. I mean, it's a heavy topic.
It is.
But you're always enlightening when you talk about it. And,
Thanks.
And the prospects and what you do for all these kids and all these parents.
Yeah.
And thank goodness for the Fantasia Ball with surprises galore. Again, the phone number to call?
244-7467. Fantasia Ball is on Saturday, March 26th, the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday. Come on out. There's a dance party after the ball till 2 in the morning with 5 DJs and Jimmy Mack and the Cool Cats. It's an exciting night, and you can just go to our website, click on Fantasia Ball. All the details are right there.
Fabulous. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happy to be here.
Great. Thanks. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to join our second guest. We've got, I'm going to leave it as a surprise.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
Aloha and welcome back to Maui Nonprofit Notes. Starting the second half of our show, we're going to be talking with Brooke Brown, who's the executive director of the newly formed Nakeki o Emilia organization. I keep wanting to put a foundation at the end of that. Why is that?
I don't know.
It just kind of rings into a foundation. But I guess we could call it, because what you're doing is laying a foundation for these children who, well, let me ask you to tell us about who do you serve?
We serve children and teens, 3 to 18, who have had a parent, sibling, ohana member, or close friend die.
Okay. You help them through that grieving process.
Yes. And there's also not any time restriction with this. So it could be a child who experienced this death 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It doesn't matter. If the child is between 3 and 18, this is a child or teen we will work with.
Is there any thinking out there by people that a child 3 years old doesn't understand enough to grieve?
I think there's a lot of that. And I think that one of the big things that we really want to do is help educate parents, because I think it's quite natural to just assume that because the child is little, they may not have huge problems going on. And I mean, a 3-year-old developmentally is at a different place than an older child. But they've still, suddenly, this person they've loved is gone. And they don't have the brain development to really understand permanence, for one thing. So they may be waiting for the person to come back. And the child, a lot of people say, oh, children are resilient. I wish I had $1 for every time I've heard that. And it never quite felt right to me until Dr. Donna Sherman of the Dougie Center, whom we're modeling our program on, said to me when I was talking about that with her, she said, it's true, children are resilient, but not in a vacuum. And so what we're trying to do is with our program, we're going to be running groups, and this is not therapy. It's not counseling. These are peer support groups. So the children meet in their group, and the little kids will meet in the afternoon. The big kids and olders will meet in the early evening. And when they meet, while they're meeting, their adult parents, caretaker meets in their group. So everybody's working on their grief, or not. In other words, on some level, they are working on it. But children, for instance, children play, and that's how they work. That's their work. Children's play is their work.
Interesting.
And they will play repetitively, to work out things. They might have you be the daddy, you be the mommy, I'm the baby, and they go on and on and on. And they'll work through whatever's going on in their psyche. And as they get older, they will understand more. They will ask different questions, complexities. It's like when they're little. I mean, my grandson said to me, when he was 4 at one point, he was very angry one afternoon in what he said. He said, "How come everybody but me has a mama?"
Right.
That was his world. Whereas if he was in a group, he would be with other kids, some of whom didn't have a dad, some of whom didn't have a tutu, or a mama, or a sister, or a brother. And it gives them a place to work on this, which is really important because, going back to what you said, many children, you don't really know what's going on inside them, and they look fine, and so they may move on. And if their grief is not processed, then we're looking at trouble down the line, potentially trouble. And I'm not saying that processing can happen in someone's sleep at night,
right?
Lots of different ways. But children and children's depression is not really recognized a lot of the time. And it can turn into anxiety, depression, and as they get older, school problems, truancy, delinquency, promiscuity, addiction, suicide.
Wow.
Ultimately, which is the worst.
In these group sessions, when you've got like the younger ones and they maybe do some of this role playing that you were talking about, does it ever come up that, well, no, we don't need a mom because I don't have one?
It could.
That's got to be something that just kind of pierces your heart to hear a kid say that.
But in these groups, what we're doing is we're holding this space for them. And so we are not a medical model where we're trying to fix anyone or reassure them. We can't tell them that everything's going to get better. We don't know that.
Right.
But what we can do is give them the space to be where they are, as they are, and accept them right then. So that a child can say something like that. A child can, and sometimes in the group, other children will respond between themselves. They may answer.
Well, I don't have a daddy, so we don't need that.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And just see where it goes. And don't know where it's going.
In my mind, it's kind of it would be not an eye-opening, but an opening caveat to what comes next when they start talking about somebody who's not here. At least they're talking about it now.
That's exactly right.
And they may not have done that before.
Well, that's exactly right. And a lot of children, it's very interesting, a lot of children might try to talk about it, and their parents will distract them, or the adults will distract them, because the adults might think, oh, if this person talks about the deceased, they're going to get more upset, and we don't want to rock the boat.
Oh.
And there are also children who pick up on their parents' or the parents' sadness, and so they refrain from talking about it because they don't want to add to the parents' sadness. So you end up with these pockets, and this can be all along the line. And one of the things, children between the ages of 5 and 7 are most vulnerable because they certainly experience the loss, but they don't have the coping skills yet that kids can get as they get older.
I see. Now, to take it back a step, the reason that you founded this organization is your own loss.
Yes. My daughter, Emilia, died 2 years ago. and she had colorectal cancer. Was diagnosed out of the blue. It was just, she was just one of those unlucky people. And she fought hard, and she died a few days after her son's 3rd birthday. And this was, of course, it wasn't anything she and her husband, J.B. Gard, had ever foreseen. None of us had. And immediately, we began to look at, okay, what does this child need? How can we best be there for him? And all the Brown families, the Gard family, we were just lots of love, but do we need anything more than love? What do we look out for that would indicate trouble? And in calling around, I found out that Queen Liliuokalani Children's Center is the only program on Maui that has children's bereavement services, but they can only serve those of Hawaiian ancestry.
Oh.
And that was not a problem for us, but it just grew. I thought this is such a need here on Maui, and it's so important that I founded this.
Wow.
And we've grown out of that.
Yeah.
And all of the agencies have been so supportive. Everybody I talk to, teachers, individuals, agencies, everybody is just, oh, thank you so much. Queen Liliuokalani Center is thrilled because then they can refer to
Right.
us. And so the need is there. I mean, statistically, Susie, according to the census, there are 1,800 children in Maui County under 18 who've lost a parent to death.
Wow.
And this doesn't even account for sibling death. 5% of children in the United States under the age of 18 lose a parent to death. And
That's a large number.
it's a huge number. It's a huge number. And children who've had a parent die are at much higher risk for depression, for anxiety. If it's been a violent death, they're, at much more risk for PTSD kinds of,
Interesting.
situations. Yeah.
Whew. I never realized that we're talking those kinds of numbers.
Yeah.
Is the and maybe you can't answer this, but I'm going to throw the question out anyway. You were talking about sibling deaths. Is it harder to lose a brother or sister than it is to lose a parent for many of these kids?
I can't speak to that.
You don't know.
And I would imagine if you ask 10 people, you'd get 10 different answers.
Okay.
Because, it's interesting when you think about it. You don't even want to talk about the child losing a loved one, because maybe the child didn't love the person that died. Maybe it was a family member that beat them all the time. But there's still been disruption in the child's life, and the child still has feelings.
Right.
So, for that child, it might be harder to lose a parent or a sibling.
Interesting.
One problem with sibling death that a lot of children do feel is that not only have they lost their sibling, but they've lost their parents, because their parents are so consumed with grief.
With that loss.
Or if the child has been ill for a long time before they died, so much of the parental attention has been understandably around that child. So it's very difficult. But to have groups where the kids can be with other kids who understand, because again, New York Life Insurance did a big study several years ago, and they found that the two determinants for how well kids did was if they could answer yes to, could you express what you were feeling? Those kids that said yes did a lot better than the other kids. And also, the second question was, do you feel understood? The kids who felt understood did better. And
Interesting.
Along with that, the greatest determinant for a child's getting through this well is how well the parents are doing. And it all ties together. And how well a parent's doing is not necessarily that they've just resumed their life or they're going to work every day, because our unconsciouses communicate.
Right.
So
Right.
it's these groups are important.
That's interesting, and I guess and that is why you have the two groups meeting
Yes.
The children are in one group, the adults are in another, so that you can work simultaneously with them, understanding what's going on in the other side.
Well, we keep confidentiality.
Oh, okay.
So that what the children say, what's said in circle time stays in circle.
Okay.
And the same with adults. The only exception being if a child or an adult was voicing, harm to
Right.
self or other, then we're mandated to report that, and we would
Right.
act on that. But everybody knows that going in. They will understand the rules. Anytime somebody new joins the group, the rules are gone over. The groups are open-ended, by the way, Susie. So a child can stay in the group as long as they wish, as long as they maintain attendance. And all of this is free. There is no charge for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, again, the groups meet how often?
The groups meet, if for a child in a group, they meet once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And the little kids would be in a group for, like the littles, the 3s, 4s, and 5s, their group would be an hour and 15 minutes. The older kids, hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. The attention span is better?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The little kids aren't going to sit around and talk.
Right.
The way the other older kids, other children may play and,
Right.
talk and play, and then
Express
the teens,
themselves that way. yeah.
frequently the teens choose to just sit and talk.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What would be an average size for a good sized group?
Well, we're going to play it by ear,
Okay.
but we'll definitely have 3 facilitators for every children's group. And I would imagine, again, it'll depend on the age. A maximum group size might be 8 children, but maybe if the children are a little older, maybe we throw in another facilitator and we go to 10, but probably think 8, and that's probably more likely.
Okay. Now, you've just had your training for your facilitators.
Yes, it was wonderful.
It was a
We-
couple of days?
It was 2 full days, 9 to 5, and we brought the director of the Dougie Center in Portland, former director. She had just stepped down a few months ago because she's concentrating now. She's the senior trainer and is concentrating on that and children's advocacy and her writing. But she came to Maui and trained 3 of us who now will train our facilitators. And we did that about 2 or 3 weeks ago and have a wonderful group, really solid group. And we used Dougie materials. We're following their everything. I mean, they are the gold standard in the children's bereavement program field. They were founded in 1982 and have, I think, something like 30,000 children and adults have gone through their program now.
Wow.
Very exciting.
And
It's great. And I was very excited. Dr. Sherman agreed to be on our advisory board, which is wonderful. So we've got her ear, from the get-go.
that always helps.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was wonderful. When we did the training, we also decided to open up 2 hours to the community because we felt Dr. Sherman was too good a resource to hog. And Queen Liliuokalani Children's Center very kindly gave us a venue, and I got the word out to as many people as I could, agencies, individuals, anybody who I felt would have kids that might benefit. And about 50 people came that afternoon, and everybody was so impressed. And we didn't have her do a talk, although she spoke for a while. We invited them as a Q&A so they could have this expert in the field answer their questions. It was
Interesting.
very exciting, and I really feel like we've got the support of, again, and a lot of people understand what we're doing, so it's really letting parents know about us, and them just deciding, well, because for most people, it's going to mean a change in their schedule or their habit.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, suddenly every 2 weeks, or, one person called and she said, well, my son has this, it was a sports situation. So, I think it would be good for him if he came once a month. And I said, no, that doesn't work. He needs to commit to the group every 2 weeks. Then he can come.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
So now if someone is interested in joining the group or seeing if they are a fit for the group, they call you
Yes.
at what number?
241-9832. I don't call it a lot. It's on everything I send out. Or people can email me at Brooke, Brooke, at nkoemaui.org, and I will get back to them that way.
Okay.
We have a website, and they can contact me through that. That's www.nkoemaui.org, or if they put Nakekio Emilia into their browser bar, it comes up.
Cool. And then once, what do you set up an appointment with them to talk about?
Yes, I would definitely like some face contact so I can answer their questions. I have an application form that they would need to fill out. So I would get the form to them and arrange a meeting time, and after that we would assign them to a group.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And this is all at no cost.
no cost.
That's fabulous.
So we're seeking funding everywhere we turn.
Donations are
Yes.
requested, yes.
Are greatly appreciated,
Yeah.
and if anybody knows of funding sources, please contact me, because this is going to be an ongoing challenge.
Boy, that's terrific. And I, as you say, there's no one else here to do this. I suppose in some cases families have turned to their minister or
Oh, yes.
other folks to do this on a one-on-one basis.
But that's the counseling. And what they've found is the most effective medium for working with bereaved children are these peer support groups.
Right.
So,
So we got counseling on one hand and the peer groups and the working together.
yeah, we're
on
just
the other.
adjunctive. We're complementary.
Wonderful. Brooke, what can't say enough about what you've brought to town.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for what you do, and we'll have you on again soon.
Thank you,
And we'll get
Susie.
an update on how things are going.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Brooke Brown, Executive Director of Nakekio Emilia, and her number is 241-9832.
Is it 241 or 214?
I got 214 on here.
It's 214.
It's 214.
It's whatever is there.
Oh, it's the printed one. Okay, I thought maybe we had a typo.
No, I don't dial it.
You don't. That's it. Well, none of us call ourselves.
Yeah, 214.
214. Okay, correction. 214-9832. Maui Nonprofit Notes is sponsored as a community service by Pacific Source, the builder's choice. Give Paul and his staff a call at 986-0380 or stop by their showroom in the Waikapu Bayshard on East Oahe Way to see how they can help you with your building project. Maui Nonprofit Directors Association's mission is to provide personal and professional support to nonprofit executive directors, their organizations, and the community of Maui. Please visit our website at mauinonprofit.org for a list of member agencies. And if you see one listed there that you'd like more information on, please go to their website, which is shown on that site, and find out or call them or just visit with them and find out how you can help them. Today we visited with Imua Family Services and Nakekio Emilia, found out what they're doing for our community and the people in our community who have needs. Needs come in all shapes and sizes. Today we kind of concentrated on the younger folks. Imua talked about their fantasy ball, which is coming up the end of this month on March 26th, and Brooke talked about her group sessions that she is starting with kids from 3 to 5 years old and up through 18 ultimately. Want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to join us again next week right here on Wednesday at noon on KAOI Radio, 1110 AM, 96.7 FM, 96.5 FM on the west side, when we'll be featuring representatives of 2 other member agencies of the Maui Nonprofit Directors Association. Until then, I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great week, everyone. Aloha.